This is Kathy from Gadget Stop 321, and in today's video, I'm taking a look at my new glass nib dip pen. I've been interested in glass pens for a while, mainly just because they're so pretty, but I didn't really have a whole lot of a use for one. I didn't have very many inks, and the options that are available from US retailers were pretty limited. I didn't really see anything that really caught my eye. But in the latest email that I got from JetPens, their little newsletter that they send out with new products, I saw that Rohrer and Klingner was offering a selection of these glass pens, and this one in particular caught my eye. I think it's called the blue and copper color, and you can see it's got like a ribbon of sparkly copper color running through it. And usually I'll kind of dawdle around when I see a pen or something like that that interests me. But the minute I saw this one, I got on there and ordered one. And after I ordered it, I told my daughter that I had ordered a glass pen, and I showed her a picture of it, and she said, "Oh, I thought it would be more clear." And I said, "Well, this pen is clear. It's hard to tell just by looking at it in a picture, but some of the styles are more clear than others." So I showed her a picture of the other colors that were available, and she said, "Wow, Mom, you picked the ugliest one of the bunch." But that just goes to show you how different people's tastes can be, because this one I thought was far and away the prettiest option they had available. Now, I've played around with this a little bit. One of the things I'm wanting to pay attention to as I do a writing sample is, will you be able to tell when you're writing with a glass nib pen? Will you be able to feel the difference between different types of inks? Like some inks feel smoother in a fountain pen, and some inks feel drier. So I've got a selection of inks here. I've got a shimmer ink, a sheening ink, a shading ink, and an ink that's kind of unsaturated. And I want to see if I can feel the difference between those. All right. So I'm going to start with Robert Oster Blue Moon. It's a shimmer ink. And I just noticed, you can tell this is like a color scheme that I'm kind of drawn to. My nib, or my pen rest, is kind of that same color scheme. I haven't used this little ink sample in a while, and the shimmer's really wedged down in there. This is going to get all over the grippy section, I think. Hey, yeah, I did. Okay. This is Robert Oster Blue Moon. This nib has quite a bit of feedback, but to me it's not unpleasant. I think I'm going into this with realistic expectations. Okay, and one thing I notice about this, I guess I'm holding it right here. I think it would feel more comfortable if I could hold it back here at the wider section, but this nib is really long. And that's one of the things that JetPens said in the description, is that since these are, handmade glass pens, the dimensions are going to vary from pen to pen. And you can see in the picture, some of the nibs were quite a bit wider than others. So I don't know if some of them are maybe shorter as well. I'm not sure. Okay, and that looks pretty good. It's a little bit wetter here at the beginning. Next, I've got Monteverde California Teal, a sheening ink. It's pretty saturated. And then I'm going to make sure I kind of dab the nib off a little bit. You can see the ink is really kind of more blobby, more flowy. Yeah, maybe more flowy, or maybe just more ink really sticks to the nib since this is kind of a thicker, more saturated ink. There's still quite a bit of feedback, but it does feel a little smoother. You can still really hear the feedback though. But look how much wetter that was. So it felt smoother, but it looks worse. And it looks like it stuck to the nib a little bit more, but even so, it's coming off very easily with water. I just had to make sure I got all the residue out of the little, I guess, flute you would call that. Next, I've got a nice shading ink, Robert Oster Cafe Crema. Okay, and I was kind of afraid this would happen. On a shading ink like this, that first word is going to be quite a bit darker than the rest. And here, I think the Oster was kind of lighter, and then the Cafe Crema, maybe I turned my pen, I'm not sure, but a bunch of more ink came out, or came off of the nib. My finger was contaminated. Okay, so by the time you get to the end here, it's quite a bit drier. A pen like this, I wouldn't like using it for writing, like writing a letter or writing a note here at my desk, because of the ergonomics of it and just the amount of ink the unevenness of the ink that it puts down. What I am excited about is just playing with my ink. That's the main reason I got this pen, is for just the convenience of being able to play with your ink and not having to commit to a whole ordeal of cleaning out a pen. All right, and this is one of the Sailor Ink Studios 123. And this is kind of a watery ink. I'm going to dab the nib off just a little bit. And I think, yeah, the different inks do have a different feel on the paper. None of them would I say are unpleasant. And you can see how dry that is. Yeah. I guess, like, I don't know. I was going to say the less saturated inks will come off the nib faster, but that saturated ink really came off the nib quickly there at the beginning. I think I'm going to enjoy this for just playing with my inks. Like, I love watching people on YouTube just make ink swatches of their ink samples or bottles of ink, and it's just so convenient when they're able to use like a dip pen to label the ink swatch. I like that. All right, now, another interesting thing I saw recently pertaining to dip pens was I was listening to the Tokyo Inklings podcast, and they were broadcasting live from the Tokyo International Pen Show. And one of the interesting things they mentioned was a company called Drillog. And I'll use one of the inks to write it. Drillog is a company that makes metal dip pens. Now, they're not the dip pens like you're used to that you see in art stores and stuff, not the flex nibs. It's a dip pen like this that has the flutes in it, but it's machined out of, I guess, stainless steel. They look amazing, just the precision of the machining, and they come in two sizes, a 0.8 and a 0.5. The 0.8 I wasn't that crazy about. They showed a writing sample, and it looks kind of like this one. It's kind of blobby at the beginning, then it evens out for a while, and then it starts running dry. But the 0.5 wrote just very uniformly, and the writing sample, they were just able to write quite a bit without having to re-ink. And the downside is, though, the two guys mentioned, CY and Jacob, they do the Tokyo Inklings podcast. They said that Drillog is probably not going to be able to distribute products outside of their area for quite a while. The demand in their area is going to keep them busy. So the name of it was Drillog. And you can see pictures and little videos of writing samples on Twitter. I was just blown away. The 0.5, the writing sample, and the way it was putting the ink on the page looked a lot like a Pilot stainless steel Pilot fine nib. And I just love the way that nib writes. And so I'm going to be watching that company. It may be a while, but I would like to try or get one of those dip pens at some point. But for now, I think this Rohrer and Klingner dip pen is going to suit me just fine. It arrived in this tube. It's just a little thin tube, but it's really rigid and did a good job protecting the pen in transit. It had to travel halfway across the United States. It's got a little bit of foam here in the cap to keep it cushioned. And it arrived in just a paper padded envelope, so I'm going to hold on to the tube for storing my pen. But for now, it's probably just going to sit on my desk on my little pen rest. All right, if you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.